Okay, so the second, let's see, the second exercise in this assignment is to make this, this thing looks like maybe like a socket for a socket wrench. But basically it's a barrel with a square stud, and we're going to use fillets to make these little rounded edges on the intersection. So first thing we're going to do is create a revolve, and we're going to do that by sketching a rectangle right on the center line, and we're just going to revolve it around, and that becomes a cylinder. And then we're going to sketch this square feature on the top, and we're going to use the center rectangle to make that feature, and then we're going to add like a revolved cut around the bottom, and then we're going to add these fillets. So let's see, I may do it in a different order, but okay, so we're going to create a new part studio, and then the first thing I'm going to do is sketch a rectangle on the front plane. I'm going to click sketch. I'm going to choose my front plane as the sketch plane. I'm going to orient the view by clicking front. Okay, and now I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Since there's not a hole in the middle of this part, I can just use one leg of the rectangle as my revolve, as my center of revolution. Okay, and of course it's in millimeters, and I forgot to change my units, so I will do that now. It kicks you out of the sketch when you change your units, but you can go right back into it. So I'm just going to click here. I'm going to change workspace units. I'm going to change it to millimeters. I'll click OK, and now I'm just going to right click and edit this sketch over here. Okay, so now I want to add dimensions because it is 30 millimeters tall and 20 millimeters wide. Right, so if the diameter is 40 millimeters, then the radius is going to be half of that, which is 20 millimeters, right? So if I revolve this all the way around, I would have 40 from end to end. So the radius is going to be from the center line to the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and dimension that. I'm going to say 20, and then I'm going to make it 30 tall. Okay, it's all black, so I know it's fully defined. If you didn't start your sketch at your origin, this may not be all black, but for this exercise, you want this to be right in the center because it's going to help us when we make that little square feature. So if you have made your rectangle out here, you can just drag one corner over and align it with this center point here. It's called the origin. Okay. So now I can either close the sketch or I can go right to revolve. I'm just going to click revolve. It's already selected the sketch. I just need to select the axis, which is here. And I click OK. I turn it. It looks like a cylinder. Next, I'm going to sketch a square centered on the top of the cylinder. So if you didn't use the origin to make your rectangle in the first part, you're going to wish you had. So I'm going to sketch on this surface, so I'm going to click on that surface. I'm going to hit sketch, and I'm going to switch to the top view, and now you see I have a point right in the middle. Since I want my square centered on that circle, I'm going to expand this little button next to the rectangle tool. I'm going to choose a center point rectangle. It also looks like there's a shortcut. If I just hit the R button, it'll create a center rectangle. So a little shortcut, and I'm going to click once here, and I'm going to click out there, and that will remain. Uncheck that. That will remain centered. Right? Oops. Didn't want to do that. Okay, so that'll remain centered here. So if you didn't use the origin to make your cylinder, then you're not going to be centered on your cylinder. So now I'm going to dimension it. It's 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. I can choose one side. Oh, I'm just going to dimension both sides. 10, 10. Great. And now I'm going to extrude it 15 millimeters up. So I hit the extrude button, and I change that to 15. I hit enter. I'm done with that. Okay, so now we're going to make this little bottom, it's called a chamfer. So the chamfer is very similar to a fillet, but instead of a rounded edge, it's going to cut an angled edge. We could do this with a revolved cut, but there's a pick and place feature called the chamfer, and we're going to use that. So I click chamfer, then I click the edge, and now I have some options. So they want it to be a 5 millimeter chamfer and 30 degrees. So I'm going to change this to 5. It's already 5. And then instead of equal distance, I'm going to say distance and angle. I'm going to change that 45 to 30. I hit enter, and now it's a shallower angle. If you leave that at 45, I don't care. But just so you know where all this stuff is here. So distance and angle, and then you give it a distance, which is going to be, I believe it's going to be the distance from this corner to the end, and then you give it an angle of 30 degrees. And then we're going to add a fillet up here, right? We're going to add a fillet right there on those 4 edges. So it's not going all the way around the edge, it's going on individual little lines. And you have to click them one at a time. Actually, you can probably a shortcut for selecting them all, but that was easy enough. And it's 5 millimeters, that's the dimension there. So that's it. That's the end of this one. So that is a revolve with an extruded square, and we used a chamfer at the bottom and a fillet to make these little rounds here. Okay, that's it.